everybody. This is Mike Brennan here at the National Hurricane Center. It's just after 4 p.m. Central Time on Sunday, July 7th, coming on with the latest on what is Tropical Storm Beryl, now passing just to the east of the lower Texas coast. You can see here on the radar imagery, the system's gradually becoming better organized. We've seen the peak winds come up just a little bit today, still around 65 miles per hour based on the latest data we've gotten from the Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter aircraft who are out in the storm right now. But they've also found that the pressure continues to drop in the center of the storm, and it's down to 988 millibars. That's down several millibars since this morning. So Beryl is gradually becoming better organized, and we are still expecting intensification, maybe even steady to rapid intensification in the last 12 to 18 hours or so before the system moves on shore along the coast of Texas. If we zoom out a little bit, we can see those outer rain bands from Beryl moving inland across portions of southeast Texas, even into portions of Louisiana, bringing heavy rainfall out in advance of the storm. And Beryl is currently moving now to the north-northwest at 12 miles per hour, and that motion is going to bring the center onshore in portions of the middle Texas coast either overnight tonight and early Monday morning. So again, Beryl's got multiple life-threatening hazards associated with it. We're going to step through those here, starting first with the storm surge. We actually have some higher storm surge forecast values now, especially in this area from Port O'Connor up to San Luis Pass, including Matagorda Bay, expecting somewhere in here to see 4 to 7 feet of inundation above ground level as the center of Beryl moves onshore near this region overnight tonight and early Monday morning. We still have that storm surge warning in effect for portions of the lower and middle Texas coast, all the way from Sabine Pass down here to the north entrance of the South Padre Island National Seashore. Again, expecting 4 to 7 feet of inundation above ground level somewhere in this region, but also seeing some higher values now up into Galveston Bay and also from San Luis Pass to High Island, expecting 4 to 6 feet of inundation here, as there's going to be a long duration onshore flow into the Galveston Bay region as Beryl tracks to the west of that location. And we are already seeing some inundation of about 2 feet above ground level, say places like Eagle Point up in Galveston Bay. We're going into low tide now, but as the next tide cycle starts and the water starts to come up overnight, we'll see those values rise and probably peak out sometime tomorrow morning as Beryl moves onshore. So everybody in these areas that's in a storm surge evacuation zone, if you've been asked to leave by local officials, please do so. You have just a few more hours to get to a safe place. Just drive a few miles inland to get out of that storm surge zone to a safe place where you can shelter safely during the storm. If we move on to the wind front here, we have a hurricane warning in effect for the coast of Texas from Baffin Bay up to San Luis Pass. Most concerned about this area to the east of Corpus Christi up to the San Luis Pass area, where we're expecting the core of Beryl to move onshore overnight tonight and early Monday morning. Tropical storm warnings in effect to the south and the north, including the Houston-Galveston area, and also extending inland up into portions of southeastern Texas, including Bryan, up to just to the south and west of Lufkin, with the potential for tropical storm conditions reaching well inland as Beryl moves inland overnight or during the day on Monday. And let's go to the track forecast, and we'll look at that forecast here. You can see by overnight tonight and early Monday morning, the center of Beryl moving onshore within the hurricane warning area, and then a northward to northeastward motion across East Texas as we go from Monday into Monday night and Tuesday. And then Beryl's going to lose its tropical characteristics and continue on moving up into the mid-Mississippi and Ohio valleys as we go through the middle portions of the week. Now let's talk about the rainfall. This is going to be a big threat across not just the Texas Gulf Coast, but also into much of eastern Texas and even portions of western Louisiana and portions of Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma. We're expecting widespread rainfall totals of 5 to 10 inches for places like Houston, Galveston, up to Palestine, Tyler, Texarkana, up into western Arkansas. Some locations could see isolated totals as high as 15 inches if we get into one of these rain bands that doesn't move and we continue to see heavy rainfall occurring over the same area. Some of the highest rainfall totals could be down here near where Beryl makes landfall in the mid-Texas coast up to the Galveston area. And given that, there is a very considerable risk of flash flooding across the Texas Gulf Coast, eastern Texas, the Arklatex region. This is where we have flood watches in effect now, and we will likely see those continue to expand northward and eastward, but we're talking about places like Tyler, just to the southeast of Dallas, Houston, Galveston, all of East Texas. And in particular, as we go from Monday into Tuesday, this red area is where we are likely to see perhaps some significant flash flooding risk. Again, those same locations This is a level 3 out of 4 flash flooding risk. Very concerned. There could be considerable flash and especially urban flooding, particularly if we get heavy rainfall over a prolonged period of time, say in the Houston-Galveston area, in combination with the storm surge occurring in Galveston Bay, could cause some very complex flooding in that region. So everybody in these regions, again, needs to make sure they have multiple ways to receive emergency information as we go through the event. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Finally, let's touch on the tornado threat. We've seen our first tornado warning actually up here in portions of Louisiana just within the last hour. But as those outer rain bands from Beryl move on shore tonight and Monday, the greatest risk overnight for tornadoes is from just east of Victoria up through Houston, Galveston, over to Beaumont, Port Arthur, down into Cameron Parish in Louisiana. On Monday, that risk is going to spread northward and eastward across East Texas, western Louisiana, into southwestern Arkansas. So let's just finally touch on the rip current risk. We've been talking about this. Folks along the Texas coast, you know it's not a good day to be in the ocean. You've got a hurricane, expected hurricane making landfall in the next few hours. But farther east along the Gulf Coast, dangerous ocean conditions in places like the Florida Panhandle, the Alabama coast. Please heed any rip current warnings, flags. Don't get in the ocean. Follow advice given by your local officials there. So just to wrap up with the key messages, we've got the danger of multiple life-threatening hazards. In the landfall area tonight, we're going to see the danger of life-threatening storm surge inundation, dangerous hurricane force winds. Tropical storm conditions will be arriving along the coast in the hurricane warning area within just the next few hours. So you're going to want to be in your safe place to ride out the storm. Certainly by nightfall tonight, plan to stay in a safe place overnight tonight and into at least Monday morning, if not through much of the day on Monday, as hazardous conditions will persist even after the center of Beryl moves through. Again, we're looking at a considerable flash and urban flooding threat across the portions of the Texas Gulf Coast into much of East Texas as we go from tonight into Monday and Tuesday. And again, we touched on that rip current risk that's broadly spread across the Gulf of Mexico. So for those of you in the Texas Gulf Coast, East Texas, make sure you have multiple ways to receive emergency information, especially as we go into the overnight hours. Make sure you have a NOAA weather radio that will alert you if there's a tornado warning or flash flood warning issued for your area. Make sure wireless emergency alerts are turned on your phone so that you will be alerted if dangerous conditions approach your area. So please stay tuned. We'll be with you throughout the night here at the National Hurricane Center, providing updates on hurricanes.gov. You can find more information at your local National Weather Service office at weather.gov. And we'll be back with more later on Hurricane Beryl. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Brennan at the National Hurricane Center.